Sarah stood at the courtroom door, fingers trembling around her daughter Aisha's small hand. Across the hall, Ali clutched his son Yusuf's backpack so tightly his knuckles turned white. They used to walk into places together, parent-teacher meetings, playgrounds, grocery stores. Now they stood on opposite sides of the hallway, hearts full of anger, eyes full of guilt, and two kids stuck in the middle of the war they never asked for. Aisha tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mama, after today will I still see Baba?" The question sliced through Sarah like glass. She had spent months telling herself she was protecting her children by leaving, by fighting, by proving she could survive alone. She had rehearsed speeches about independence and self-respect. But in this tiny moment none of that mattered. All she heard was fear in her daughter's voice. On the other side, Yusuf looked up at his father. "Dad, if the judge asks, can I just say I want both of you?" Ali swallowed hard. He remembered the night he slammed the door, shouting words he wished he could steal back. He remembered Sarah's tears, Aisha clinging to her, and Yusuf hiding behind the sofa because loud voices make my heart hurt. He promised himself he'd never be like his own father, but somewhere in the fight, he had become the man he swore he'd never be. A court officer called their case. "Khan family, you're up." They walked in for people who used to be one family. The judge looked tired, like he'd seen this scene 1,000 times. "We are here to discuss custody arrangements for the children," he said. "Aisha age 7. Yusuf age 9. He paused, eyes softening as he studied the parents. "Before we begin, I want to hear one thing. What do you think is best for your kids? Not your ego, not your pain. Your kids." Sarah opened her mouth to speak, the usual argument ready. That she was the stable one, the consistent one, the one who never missed school events. But before the words escaped, Aisha suddenly stepped forward. "Your Honor, can I say something?" the little girl asked, voice shaking but brave. The courtroom went silent. The judge nodded gently. "Go ahead, sweetheart." Aisha looked at her mom, then at her dad, eyes full of tears that refused to fall. "I don't want to choose," she whispered. "When I'm with Mama, I miss Baba. When I'm with Baba, I miss Mama. I just want us to stop fighting. I want my brother to be happy again. He started sleeping with the light on because he says nightmares look like arguments." She took a breath that sounded too heavy for a child. "If you all love us like you say, can you please love each other enough to stop hurting us?" Yusuf, usually quiet and guarded, stepped beside his sister. "I'm not scared of monsters anymore," he added, voice low. "I'm scared of phone calls. Because every time one of you calls, you start whispering about lawyers and who gets us on holidays. I don't want to be a weekend. I want to be your son. I want both of you at my football game. I want to look in the crowd and not have to worry who sits where." The judge leaned back, eyes glistening. There were laws, forms, rules, but what stood in front of him wasn't a case. It was a family hanging by a thread. He looked at the parents. "Did you hear them?" he asked softly. "Not their words. Their hearts." Sarah's shoulders sagged, the anger melting into exhaustion and grief. She remembered the night they found out they were pregnant with Aisha. How Ali spun her around the living room, promising he'd be the best father in the world. She remembered the way he stayed awake all night when Yusuf had a fever, whispering, "Breathe, buddy, just breathe." Somewhere between bills, missed calls, and harsh words, they had forgotten the truth. They weren't enemies. They were two people who loved the same two kids more than anything. Ali's eyes filled with tears he never let anyone see. "Your Honor," he said, voice cracking, "I messed up. I held on to my pride so tight I forgot I was holding my children's hearts too. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to win against her. I want us to win for them." Sarah turned to look at him, really look at him past the hurt. "I'm tired of being angry," she whispered. "I'm tired of signing forms like we're strangers. We used to be a team. Maybe we can't fix us as husband and wife, but maybe we can fix us as mom and dad." The judge folded his hands. "Custody," he said slowly, "is not about ownership. It's about responsibility and love. The children have made it clear. What they need is parents who can stand together, even if they live apart." He glanced at the kids and smiled softly. "So here's what we'll do. Joint custody. Shared time. Shared responsibilities. But I'm adding one condition. Everyone frowned in confusion. Once a week, the judge continued, you will all meet in a neutral place, a park, a cafe, anywhere, and spend 1 hour together. No talking about cases, money, or who did what. Just 1 hour where these kids see that you are still both on their side. This isn't a punishment. It's your last chance to show them family doesn't end just because marriage does. For a moment no one spoke. Then Aisha turned to Yusuf, eyes lighting up with a tiny fragile hope. Maybe we can get ice cream, she whispered. All 4 of us. Like before. Ali exhaled, a shaky laugh escaping. I miss that, he said quietly. I miss us fighting over who gets the last bite. Sarah smiled through tears. You always stole it. He shrugged. You let me. She nodded. Yeah, I did. Weeks passed. The first family hour was awkward. They sat on opposite ends of a park bench while the kids swung between them, literally pulling them closer. Conversation was stiff, safe, small school, homework, the weather. But then Yusuf scored a goal in his football match one Saturday, and he looked to the stands, heart pounding. For the first time in months he saw both his parents standing side by side, clapping, shouting his name. Not as exes, as mom and dad. At Aisha's school play she stumbled over a line. Her eyes flicked to the audience, panic rising, until she saw her parents lean toward each other, both mouthing the missing word, both giving her the same reassuring nod. She found her voice again. Slowly something changed. They still lived in separate homes. They still had disagreements. But arguments ended earlier. Messages about the kids started with, "How are you?" and ended with, "Thank you." They didn't fix their marriage, but they fixed how they held their children's world together. One evening after a long, messy but peaceful family hour at the park, the kids raced ahead chasing bubbles. Sarah and Ali walked behind them side by side, not touching but not cold either. You know, Sarah said quietly, the judge called it our one last chance. I thought he meant last chance to win the case. Ali shook his head, watching his kids laugh. No, he replied. He meant last chance to not lose them. She nodded, eyes shining. We almost did. But we didn't, he replied softly, because they reminded us what mattered. In the distance Aisha shouted, Mama Baba, hurry. You're missing it. They looked up. The sky was painted with sunset, and the kids were trying to catch the light in their hands. For the first time in a long time, both parents smiled the same smile, the one they wore the day they first held their babies.